Hey everybody, I am in the background getting set up, but I'm also going to be eating, so I will mute my mic while the starting screen is going. Hello everyone, this is Venus Brown and I am back with another House of the Dragon, Season 3. This is Episode 7, the penultimate episode. Breakdown and discussion. Don't mind me, I have a little bit of apple in my mouth. It's almost gone. Anyway, I am going to start off with a little bit of cleanup. Last week, or not last week, but last episode, I forgot to do our rest in peace section. So let's go ahead and take care of that now. So last week, our rest in peace goes to Cole. I am glad you're dead, but sorry you had to die. Not really. No, I'm not really sorry. He needed to go one way or another, whether it was disappear or die. And I'm glad he's gone. All the others who died in the fake out and its creation. I think that was mostly who died. Oh, no, there was a Hightower spy and Baratheon spies also that died. So, rest in peace to all of them. Many of them faceless men. Like, none of us could really figure out why they called the episode Faceless Men. But, whatever. Or was that episode Faceless Men or was the previous? I don't remember. But I know one of them was, and we could not figure out for the life of us exactly why they called them faceless men. As far as we could tell, there were no actual faceless men like in Game of Thrones. And the people that were on there, we pretty much knew who they are. Yeah, there are troops that are dying. I guess maybe the people in the fake out might be considered faceless men. I don't know. But anyway, I did forget that rest in peace section for the end, so I decided to go ahead and bring that up. Now, we are getting ready to do our breakdown and discussion for episode 7. This is, what was it called? Let me check real quick. The Dragon in Winter. The Dragon in Winter. And I believe that is because of Helena's visions, which we will talk about later. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give my grade for the episode right at the beginning. I gave this episode a B, just a flat B, not B minus or B plus, and not an A, because honestly, there were some things in it that really freaking irritated me. And as I say at some point in the breakdown, around halfway through the episode, I was like, this is a pretty dull penultimate. Like, I don't see what's going on. Yes, everything picked up precipitously after that, and there was lots of cool stuff going on, but there were also things that were irritating me about the way that they changed certain things. The timeline has been an issue. Not necessarily that the timeline is wrong, but that it is completely unclear. But I also think there is some jumping around of people, things going on that appear to be going on almost at the same time when they couldn't possibly have been at the same time. And that is part of the issue I had with the timeline, people jumping around, things happening that are not likely happening chronologically or when they show in the show. And the show has been very unclear about what is actually going on in the timeline. So, anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead. We'll get started with the breakdown, and then I will do my favorites, least favorites, all of that. And hopefully I will remember to do the rest in peace section. I think really my biggest flaw with that, the reason that I keep forgetting, is because I put it up at the top of my notes when I do it at the very end. I really should be writing it at the very end and maybe like circling it and starring it or whatever to make sure I actually remember. But so far I haven't done that, and I'm not sure why. I think it's because I fill up the notebook paper too much, and then I feel like I don't have room, so I'm just sticking it wherever there is a little bit of space left, which tends to be at the top. So, let's go ahead and start our preview. All right, it's time for our breakdown of Season 3, Episode 7 of House of the Dragon. We start off in the middle of Helena's dream. Now, I don't know if this is one of her dreams that are prophetic, but it is definitely a dream from while she's sleeping. She's out in the open court, nobody's there, which was what cued me in on this is a dream and not a reality. Like, for a little bit, I was suspending belief, thinking, well, maybe there's something going on and people just don't happen to be around and she's just taking advantage of the situation and happens to be out there with this beautiful creature. But it fairly quickly made me think, nah, this is her dream. And then she wakes up and there is Rhaenyra trying to ask her questions about her dreams. And Rhaenyra does get a little bit of information, but I don't think Rhaenyra knows what to do with it. A gray mare? How does she know what that might have to do with? I don't think she has a clue. And most of us don't have a clue either. I have heard some speculation about what it might mean, but nobody seems to definitively have a good idea. But she tells her that she does have these little flashes and that sometimes, it turns out to be something important or whatever. She asks if Aemon had tried to compel her to ride her dragon. She said yes, that he did. She starts asking a bunch of other questions, but she is too rapid fire. She's getting too carried away. And I'm going to stay on the side of Helaena is neurodivergent, whether they recognize that or not. She has some neurodivergent issues, and she talks about how she wanted to ride a dragon when she was younger, but when she was with Dreamfire, it was too much, and I will take that as her being too overwhelmed by whatever it is. Whether Dreamfire actually activates the prophetic visions she gets, or the whole situation is just too overwhelming, or whatever. It is too much for her. She can't deal with it. And what Rhaenyra was doing, asking her 20 questions like that, was also getting her overwhelmed. So it was causing her to get scared and upset and shut down. And I don't blame her. And one of the things I definitely noticed in this scenario, as she was talking to Rhaenyra, is that Helaena is looking very pale. She does not look well. She looks sick. I understand she is pregnant, and I don't know if this is from morning sickness or something like that, or if there is something even worse underlying causing her to look so pale. But it was definitely noticeable. We cut to Harrenhal. Aemon is still weak, but he is practicing his moves and doing the best he can with his injuries. Then he sees Alicent, and I'm like, Alicent is already there. Like, this seems a little soon, but maybe, possibly. And they start to have this conversation, and then things very quickly turn to more than conversation and just go straight over to fucking having sex. And I'm like, oh my God, what the actual fuck? When things started getting very quick in a hurry into the sexual realm, I thought this might not be real. And then when they got to straight up sex, I was like, no, this isn't fucking real. And then you hear Alice's voice overlapping Alicent's voice, and we know that it's Alicent. I have been listening to some of the commenters about these things. I do not know if it's totally Alice making this particular vision happen, or is it something a little more vague? That she is contributing to some sort of hallucinations happening, but maybe she doesn't have full control over what he's actually seeing. So I wonder if he is seeing this because this is what he hopes for, this is what he desires, this is what he wants. We do know that some of what he sees in this hallucination actually comes to fruition later when Alicent really gets there. But how much control does Alice actually have? Because when he realizes that this is not his mom, he pushes her off. And the first thing she says is, "What did you see?" Indicating that she doesn't actually know what he's seeing. So, like, she knows he's seeing something. She knows that there are these hallucinations, but she doesn't know exactly what the hallucinations are. Dream or not, him having sex with his mom, just straight up having sex, was so fucking disturbing. Yes, Aemon is a Targaryen, and he's all up for doing the Targaryen stuff with his family members. But as far as I can tell, Alicent is not in that same boat. She is not Targaryen. She does not agree with that specific part of their culture, their ways. So this is like strictly Aemon's visions of something Aemon wants. But then we get another scene with Alicent, and this time it really is her. And I'm wondering, is Aemon gonna actually believe his eyes now that he just went through this other thing? It was obviously not Alicent, but it does appear that he does go along with it and he does believe that it is her. He's just maybe a little untrusting of the situation because some of the things she's saying are the same things that he saw in that vision. We go to Tumbleton and Ormond is talking about this great piece that he has on the board. What is this great piece? We'll find out a little later that it's Corlys, which I suspected that was the great piece. We saw Corlys end up missing the episode before. To me, it looked like he was being killed, but no, he was not killed. He was just kidnapped. Then we go over to Jane Eyre, and Daemon is talking to her, asking her why the fuck they've been seeing Rhaena and Sheepstealer traipsing around the fucking countryside. That she's supposed to be hiding this girl and keeping her from being found. And she's like, I can't fucking control a dragon rider, which is rich words coming from her when we just saw her yesterday, like slapping that same dragon rider. She says she's been hearing talk from the people around the village about some girl around the village with the nettles and the sheep. So they tried to implement the whole idea of this being the nettles storyline without it actually being nettles like is in the book. But it was really fucking cheesy. It was not well done. And a lot of us really, really did not appreciate it. And I think they just did that because people have really expressed massive frustration that they cut Nettles out. Even if they're going to give part of Nettles' part to Rhaena, it's still frustrating because it is not the same storyline. It's not the same thing. So to me, this is just them trying to make people a little more happy about the Nettles situation, but it was done very badly. It was very cheesy and very stupid. And we see Bela talking to Adam about being at another Vhagar site where Vhagar had been sighted, but again, they're not finding her. And Adam proceeds to ask Bela, can you talk to Rhaenyra for me? Last episode, it was Adam talking to her about talking to Corlys for him. And now Adam is asking her to talk to Rhaenyra for him about their title, about the possibility of getting this name. And she's like, why is everybody so worried about getting this name and title all of a sudden? And he's like, well, you know, if we meet some highborn lady and want to be with her, that's going to be very helpful. And she's like, oh my God, so I guess you heard from your brother. And he's like, my brother? So we're seeing that, yes, Adam actually does have this interest in Bela. We weren't delusional. The showrunners were trying to show us that there was this connection, but many of us were like, there seems to be a connection between Bela and Adam, but is there really this connection between Bela and Alan when Bela and Alan were actually the one that actually started getting it on? Either way, we got ourselves a nice little love triangle going here, and I don't know how far that's going to go or if she's going to put a stop to it or what. I mean, I doubt she does because according to the books, her and Adam actually end up really together. Alicent's trying to talk to Aemon about what happened with her on the road up there and how her protector has been there to help her the whole time and she wouldn't have gotten there without him. And Aemon goes out there, pretends to shake his hand and then stabs him in the throat and says, I can't trust these strangers. So Alicent's protector that was supposed to actually be killing Aemon is down for the count. And now it's up to Alicent to actually do the dirty deed. And then as soon as her protector is down on the ground, we see Alice Rivers show up saying, hey, you're just in time for dinner. We go to Ormond trying to feast with Corlys, his new prisoner, and he's trying to make small talk with him and act like everything's all fucking hunky-dory and maybe, you know, he might do a little something for Corlys, but then he starts insulting the Targaryens. And with that, insulting his Targaryen wife, which really set Corlys off. And he's like, I'm done with you. Like, I need to fucking go back to myself. I'm not listening to this shit. And while they're having this meal, Ormond is talking about things that he's going to do with these Valyrians and everything. And Darren is like, I don't see how any of that is going to help us with these winter wolves that are going to be clawing down our doors. And Ormond just gives him this freaking evil look, like, how dare you fucking say shit like that right in front of my guest? Keep your mouth shut. He didn't say anything, but you could see it in his face. And then we see Darren talking to Gwaine, and he's like, what kind of king am I gonna be if this guy is just like putting me on and he's not letting me do anything? And I'm like, you're gonna be a puppet king. That's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to make you his puppet. And then he also includes in this conversation a little quip about how he really doesn't care for the crown. Like, he wouldn't care if Rhaenyra just keeps the crown and does her own thing. But he's also afraid that if he were to try to leave, go back to Old Town or whatever, that Ormond's gonna continue on with his shit and just keep doing stupid, fucked up shit. Possibly in his name, possibly someone else's name. But either way, he sees it as fucked up and he doesn't want it to continue. So rather than leave to he doesn't know where, he's like, I'm just gonna stay and deal with this. And then we have Rhaenyra at her council meeting, and Manderly is talking about, with all this shit going on, it really seems like somebody just intentionally installed me here to use me as a scapegoat. And I'm like, yep, exactly. That's exactly what they did. And then Sabitha Frey is going on, being her annoying self, and Rhaenyra is like, you know what? I'm just so sick of you. Just go ahead and fucking take Harrenhal. Go get your troops. Go get Harrenhal. You can have it, because I really don't want to hear you anymore. And Sabitha Frey is so delighted about this, but I'm like, yeah, girl, be careful what you wish for, because I don't think this is going to be the great thing that you think it is. And then as Rhaenyra is leaving the council meeting, Mysera is trying to convince Rhaenyra that she really needs to swear off Daemon, that he's not telling her the truth. Did you find out who this skull is actually? Do you really believe that this skull is actually Sheep Stealer's rider? Like, Daemon has lied about much, much bigger things. Don't you think you should be careful about whether he's being honest with you or not? And it looks like Rhaenyra is like not really taking the bait, but apparently she is taking the bait enough to say for Adam to go and get his dragon, they're gonna go and they're gonna go check out what's going on with Daemon, because she doesn't trust him enough to know for sure that whatever he's doing is on the up and up, and that what he's said about Sheep Stealer is actually the truth. Back in Harrenhal, Alicent is eating this dinner, which looks very unappealing, and asking, who is this Alice lady anyway? I don't know her from a hole in the wall. Like, what is going on? Is there something up with you two? And Aemon is like, oh, she's a lady. Might be like some sort of maester, if you will. But right now, she's kind of taking care of the castle because nobody else is left alive to take care of it. And they are holding hands and they are giving each other eyes and all this other stuff. So it's cluing Alicent in on something deeper is going on. She don't know what the fuck it is, but she does not seem to be liking it. Aemon says that Alice saved him and that he thinks he's going to stay there in Harrenhal and they're going to make a thing of it. He's going to just be the Lord of Harrenhal, which is exactly what you had suggested before. So why are you upset with this? Is kind of what he's asking his mom. And then Alicent starts talking about needing to get out of there, that Alice doesn't seem to like her and that maybe she should just leave. And he's like, oh no, you're not going anywhere. So I'm like, oh, so now Alice is your captive? You're like holding her prisoner? Which is a bit of a turn of events, but that doesn't last very long. Alice pulls him aside and tries to convince him that Alicent means some sort of harm, that she's not part of her plan, and that she shouldn't be there, but that she also came there to do him some sort of harm. And he seems to be taking it in a little bit and possibly listening. But then later on, we see Alicent go out where her protector was taken down. And she has a choice to make. Is she going to take him out with this guy's dagger, or is she going to use Nightshade? And then we do find out later on exactly what she's chosen. We go over where the trio of Aegon, Larys, and Tylan are riding on King's Road, and then they see this strange procession of people all leaving town very precipitously and seeming rather scared. It looks like a very strange event going on, and they ask, what is happening? Why are you all heading out like this so suddenly? They explain to him that there's this army of like 1,000 people that are rolling into their town. They come to find out that these are troops from Lord Mooton of Maidenpool that are on their way, and they have to decide, what are we going to do about this? Do we try to flee? Do we try to do something about it? Larys decides, I can't fight in this situation. If you're going to stay here and just turn yourself in, I'm not going to be of any use to you. So I'm going to fucking take off. Sorry, but not sorry. I'll make sure that they sing songs of you and that they hear this great, glorious stories of you. But I can't stay and fight. And other people I heard were like, oh, you're so cowardly. You're not going to stick around. But he's not wrong. Like, he has nothing he can really do other than use his mind. And he can't guarantee that his mind is going to be good enough to get him out of this situation like it's been so far. So I don't blame him for taking off. And Aegon says, yeah, that's probably the best thing for you to do. Whereas Tylan is like, no, I'm with my king. I'm going to stay with him. Whether we die or not, I'm going to stay by his side. And honestly, on this scene, when Lord Larys is talking about spreading stories about Aegon, of his glories and all this stuff, I really thought, oh my God, like it's another major storyline that they're saying is completely made up. Like there's so many things that I'm hearing from other people that don't seem to be based on what's actually going on the ground, that are just people trying to spread rumors. And I'm like, it felt like almost all the major storylines were fake. They're totally stories. So I get the whole idea of we have these flawed narrators in A Song of Ice and Fire, but making it so that almost all the major storylines are completely false and fabricated. That just starts to feel, I really don't like that. I was getting very, very upset by around this point in the show. And I think about halfway through the episode, I was like, really doesn't seem like a lot's going on for a penultimate episode. But it was right after that things started really picking up. But I am telling you, I was like, no, like not another fucking storyline that's just turned out to be completely fabricated. It sounds like the whole fucking Song of Ice and Fire book was just a complete fabrication. But then later on, we get news that shows that no, it's not completely fabricated. And we catch up with Daemon. He has found Rhaena and Sheepstealer. He had his dragon take Sheepstealer down to the ground and confronts Rhaena about her not sticking to her end of the agreement, of hiding like she's supposed to, that several people have seen her. She's going to cause all kinds of problems. And she's like, I just can't do it. Like, I really thought I was going to be able to live out my life in this cave and disconnected from all the people I love, but I just can't do it. So now I've decided I'm going to try to go after Vhagar and kill Vhagar, like the fucking largest dragon living in the fucking kingdom. And Daemon's like, you can't go off and fucking kill Vhagar on your own. You're gonna get yourself killed. And then she's like, well, then at least I'll be dead and it'll be done. I'm like, no. And you know Daemon's not gonna fucking allow her to go and do that, especially on her own. But then you see two other dragons come, and it is Syrax with Rhaenyra on her and Adam on Silverwing. They're not there to help out. They're there to confront Daemon about what the fuck he's doing and about the fuck that this is Sheepstealer, and apparently you knew who Sheepstealer's rider was all along, and it wasn't the fucking person with that fucking skull that he showed her. And so she's trying to confront Daemon, but the dragons are going crazy and they're trying to keep the dragons from killing each other. And she's also told Adam to go and get the rider from Sheepstealer, and Adam comes back and it's fucking Rhaena. And she's like, you're sheep stealer's rider? And just in time for Rhaenyra to get a little bit angry and a little bit upset and kind of try to fucking establish what's going on a little bit. Then the dragons just go completely ballistic, and Rhaenyra and Adam have to rescue Rhaena from the dragons trying to go off on each other. Rhaenyra's mad, but she's not mad enough to let Rhaena just get fucking killed. I was at least glad to see that. Her deep down instinct was to save Rhaena. But this fight, it's basically Sheep Stealer with 3 other dragons going at Sheep Stealer over and over again. It is devastating. Like, all the dragons are getting really deep gashes on them. They're really getting horribly hurt. And I'm just like crying because I'm so sad to see all these dragons going at each other. And I know from the book that this is what the story is about. It's about the 2 families going at each other's throats, but it's also about these dragons going at each other. And the dragons, one pop off after another, just getting killed off until there's almost none of them left. But all of it's upsetting, and I talk about it in my reaction, which you'll see later on down the road when I start putting the reactions out after I've edited them, that I talk about how upset I was even when I was reading the book at seeing all these dragons getting hurt and getting killed and coming down the way they are until they are basically damn near extinct. So seeing this scene, the way it played out, even though I thought it was very well done, it definitely had me emotionally. I was so freaking sad, and I was definitely crying. Adam, Rhaena, and Rhaenyra escape, and they leave Daemon to take care of the problem. Daemon does what he can, but then Sheep Stealer kind of goes off, and instead of going after him to finish off the job, he lets Sheep Stealer go. And I don't know how the showrunners are going to do this. Some people think, okay, this is disconnecting the connection that Rhaena and Sheep Stealer have, or that maybe Sheep Stealer is going to die later on. I don't know if Sheep Stealer will die later on. And according to the lore, if one of them isn't dead, then that connection does not disconnect. So I don't know if they're going to try to do something with that to actually kill off the dragon, or to actually ignore the lore, or to come up with some other way to spin this. I don't know. We know that the one situation they had with somebody getting disconnected from their dragon for quite a while was Laenor and Silverwing, and we don't know if Laenor actually did eventually die, because eventually they do find Silverwing again. But it's years and years later, and there are people that think that Laenor probably just eventually did die from something. It was just off screen and we never saw it. So we don't know if that disconnection and Silverwing being able to be ridden by Adam is because Laenor is dead, or is because the showrunners are doing away with that whole idea that one of them has to die in order for them to take another rider or lose that connection. Back in King's Landing, we have Mysera in the throne room with one of the maidens that we've seen around King's Landing, and it seems that Mysaris is trying to kind of get her on her side, let her know if she has any interests that need to be taken care of, has heard anything going on in King's Landing that she might want to bring to the queen when the queen is more understanding. And the lady basically calls Mysaris out for it. Like, oh, you're trying to show off. Like, you seem to have changed a bit, and maybe you need to remember where you came from. Remember, you are not one of these highborn. This stuff has obviously changed you, and you seem to think that you have the ear of the queen and that you're going to always have the ear of the queen. But in these places of highborn people, they're always going to see a whore as a whore. And I thought that was cold and harsh. I thought it was a little bit true, though. But also, I don't think Rhaenyra really sees Mysaris as a whore. And honestly, I don't think Mysaris has changed all that much. I think she always was kind of conniving. She was always trying to work both sides to get what she wants, and that's still what she's doing. She is having to do it within the palace and within the realm of the highborns. but she still has the same goals. She's still trying to do the same things. I do think one of the things that some people have pointed out is she's supposed to be the queen's whisperer and bringing the queen these secrets, and she doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of it. We haven't been seeing much of any secrets being brought to the queen, and instead the queen calling her out on shit. So yeah, I do think she's got a little bit of a problem not seeming to be doing very good at her job, and her job as a whisperer was what she was already doing. I also think that it's a mistake to have thought of Maceris is just a whore. She was in charge of these, and she was not only in charge of the whorehouses, she was being the Lady of Whisperers. She did have lots of birds that she was communicating with, but we have not been seeing a lot of that. We've been seeing the high towers with their little birdies all around King's Landing, but we haven't seen a lot of it with Maceris. So maybe in that way, she's gotten a little disconnected and stopped what she was doing in the ways that she was doing it, because that is a smart thing to do. It is a good way to kind of keep apprised of everything that's going on and use that information to better yourself. And if she's not doing that, like, what is she doing? Do the same thing that you were doing and use that to fucking get into a better situation, which she is sort of. It's just, if she is doing the whole Lady of Whisperers thing, it doesn't look like something we're seeing, and it doesn't look like she's doing a good job of it. Now we see Alicent bringing Aemon some spiced wine, which we know is laced with nightshade, but he doesn't know, and she's trying to talk to him and convince him to take this. She brings up this memory of him always liking spiced wine and him wanting that, and uses that to try to convince him to drink this wine. It seems like he is sus of her, but then the next time we see him, he's stumbling into Alice because he's drank that fucking wine with nightshade and has been poisoned. Alicent takes off, she's out of there, and Alice sees Aemon stumbling in there, and she's like, oh my god, you fucking idiot. And she's like, it seems that you boys all want the same fucking thing. I'm taking it as they all want their mommy's fucking attention, but is it more sinister than that? Is she saying they're always wanting their mommy's sexual gratification or something like that? Because that seems to be where these showrunners are going. Like, enough of the fucking Oedipus complex shit. Like, I'm sorry, the Oedipus complex is a stupid fucking idea created by a psychologist man who is basing it on his own ideas, like made up ideas of how things are for women. And he's not a woman. He has not lived in the lives of women. He has not had the experience of women. And so he's just making all these assumptions about women and thereby about the relationships between women and their children based on his experience, his ideas, and shit that he's making up in his head. That's how I see it. I know other people don't see it that way. I understand that that psychologist did some things that were very good, but to me, the whole Oedipus complex shit is shit. It is bullshit. And it should have been flushed down the fucking toilet a long time ago. Just my view on the matter. Daemon gets back to King's Landing. He tries to have a talk with Rhaenyra. He at least kind of gets her to understand that Rhaena was stuck between a rock and a hard place and was not willing to face her. Rhaenyra did not like the idea that he made a judgment about her. Basically, this idea that she's going to be some awful person that's going to treat Rhaena terribly. But if you remember correctly, the decision was made because Rhaena refused to go to Rhaenyra. Not because Daemon didn't want her to, because Rhaena insisted that she would not go back. So this was Rhaena's decision, and Daemon was just going along with that decision and trying to protect her. But he does seem to kind of get through to Rhaenyra a little bit, that he did not intend to deceive her, even though he did deceive her, that he was trying to protect his daughter, and that he's been a shit father all along, and that he's just trying now to do the best he can to at least do something right by his daughter. Then we see Rhaena. She's a little bit cleaned up. Her hair has been brushed, but not well taken care of, so it still looks bad, but not nearly as bad as it did. But she looks so done, so expended, tired, old, drained, Like, this is a teenage girl and she looks like she's in her fucking 60s or something. She looks that down, dragged out, and old. And Bela comes in, and Raina thinks that Bela is just going to be super upset with her and apologizes for destroying shit for her because she was going to be the queen and all this good stuff was going to happen, and she took that from her. And Bela comes up and hugs her and tells her this is going to enable you to start fresh, to start over. That sisterly love takes over rather than anger, which I didn't figure that Bela was going to stay angry at Raina for all that long anyway. She could see that Bela was hurting. She could see that Bela was in a bad state, and I didn't expect her to stay mad for any real length of time. Then we see Alan with his troops, and he's handed this box. And we've seen this box before. I think it was the box that had the pen for the hand in it at one point in time. Well, now it has Corlys' finger in it, along with his ring. So we don't know if Corlys is dead. I highly doubt he's dead. I'm thinking Ormond just had his finger removed and sent it as a parting gift. Why he had it sent to his son, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's just more of the manipulative games that Ormond is playing. And then finally, we get another Helena dream sequence. And this one I thought was pretty interesting and kind of cool. And I think this one really does have something to do with her dreamer gift. It starts with her in labor, giving birth, which is that scene that we saw in the trailer that we were all wondering, is she in labor? Is she giving birth to Maelor? And we know now that that's probably exactly what's going on, but it's also in a dream sequence. So is it in the future, or is it just her envisioning of what's going to happen? Don't know. But it shows her have this baby, and then it shows a Kingsguard go and take the baby away. And then the next thing we see is that she is outside with her two children, and I'm assuming it's Jaehaera and Maelor. And they have the chickens that she had talked about how she would like to have. And I know some people thought the whole idea of her just saying she wants chickens was kind of cheesy and silly. But to me, this is a girl who has lived a life where everybody was making all the choices and decisions for her. Nobody was taking her seriously. And she's had to go through all kinds of fucked up shit because everybody else is deciding everything for her and she doesn't get to make her decisions. And she's had a really fucking horrible life. She's in a really horrible position because of all those decisions. So when she's asked, what do you want to do? She comes up with something that sounds good to her, that sounds peaceful. She likes creatures. The whole thing with her dreaming about petting a horse and being out there all by herself with this horse. I know she said it was a gray mare, and I think that that has some symbolism, but I don't know what it is. The thing with her being with these chickens, this is who she would be if she could just be a girl being who she wants to be. Have her children, have some chickens, take care of them, have a horse that she can fawn over, and be out in nature. Like, to me, that's what this is. This is her envisioning what she wants, what she would like. Is it a future scene? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, but I kind of doubt it. But still, I think it is her envisioning what she actually wants. And I think that's important. When you take somebody who has always had their autonomy taken from them, and you give them the opportunity to actually utilize their own autonomy, what are they going to do? They're going to wish for something that they want, that they feel has been absent from them. And her just being able to have a fucking quiet, peaceful life has been absent from her. Even the dreams themselves keep things from being able to be quiet. The thing where she said that she wanted to ride the dragons, but when she's with Dreamfire, it's too much. That's more of just like all this stuff being too much being done for her, done to her, and not having a lot of control over it, and maybe just wanting a fucking quiet, peaceful life where she can just be and not have all these overwhelming fucking thoughts, all these overwhelming dreams, and all this overwhelming shit going on, and all these people making all her decisions for her. But then the dream turns kind of weird, and all of a sudden this nice autumn-looking sky turns gray and wintry, and we see snow coming down, and then we see this huge influx of gray clouds, smoke, and fog come in, just like when the dead started coming in from the area behind the wall into the north. And winter came. And when I saw that snow falling down and that smoke and clouds coming in, that's exactly what I said, is winter is coming. That particular part of her dream can't be part of her future because she's not going to be alive to be a part of that. But I definitely think that is part of her dreaming this future that's going to happen, not necessarily with her in it. But it looked a lot like what we saw on Game of Thrones when winter finally came. Back in Rhaenyra's room, she's looking at this skull and she's complaining about it, and she finally takes the fucking skull and she throws it into the fire because who the fuck even is this, and why am I sitting here fucking staring at this goddamn skull all this time when it's not even the real fucking thing? She confronts Mysaria about some of the shit she's been doing with trying to pit Rhaenyra against Daemon and pit Daemon against her. And Mysaria tries to defend herself, saying she never has done anything with any ill intent and that she's only tried to help her create this envisioning that she has that Viserys would want. And she's like, and what has that gotten me? Like, you've been leading me to do all these things that Viserys would do, but it hasn't gotten me anywhere. And she points out that Viserys was not a dreamer, that he basically was in his own little dreamland. But that's not the reality. That's not how reality works. So it's like Rhaenyra is finally clued in on ruling the kingdom the way that Viserys would have ruled it is not going to work. They are in a different time, in a different situation. That cannot work. But she's also coming to a position where being all nice and kind-hearted like Viserys was isn't going to work either. I'm going to have to do shit that I don't want to do, just like Alicent had pointed out before. Possibly get more of that, her turning more and more onto the kind of evil side. I do think it's important, though, to point out people give her shit. Basically, people on the show give her shit because she's a female and act like any little thing she does is an indication that she's turning evil or whatever. And they use these rumors to spread around town to make it sound like she's evil that aren't based on reality at all. But then when you read the stories, it also includes a bunch of shit that claims her to be evil, and all the little things, from what I recall, in the story that claimed that Rhaenyra was evil is shit that men do all the time. And you have these men that are volleying for positions around the kingdom, and they're doing all kinds of fucked up shit. That when Rhaenyra is in power, they try to use her doing the same shit to say that she's evil. Yet they're doing the same thing. These aren't women that are hysterical. These are men that are being their manly selves, and it's considered fucking normal for them. They're not called crazy. They're not told that they're turning into some evil thing. But because it's a female who's not even doing these things, she's just being accused of doing these things, at least at this point, we're going to say she's going crazy and that she's turned evil. Just wanted to point that out. You got all this stuff going on from the menfolk, and it's pretty fucked up. You got Cole, who's trying to drive his fucking men to their death and then gets himself killed because he wants to fucking die. You got Aegon burning a bunch of people alive. Granted, they are not civilians. They are soldiers, which I think Rhaenyra had brought up before, that when Aegon's conquest happened, he was burning soldiers alive, not a bunch of civilians. You got Ormond doing all kinds of underhanded manipulative shit, killing people off and trying to take people over, make them turncloaks, and vying to fucking burn people up. Yet he's like, oh, this woman can't do her job because she would be too squeamish to use the dragon. Yet that when we get the fucking stories, the stories say, oh no, they go all batshit crazy and they start using the dragons to burn people up. Which is it? She's too squeamish because she's a female, or she's obviously gone evil and crazy because she's female. And then we do get to that situation where Aegon is confronted by these troops. He said he was going to stay and he was going to face the music. And when it all comes down to it, he decides he's not going to retreat. He's not going to turn himself in. or surrender. He takes his sword out and he starts making this great speech as a king who refuses to just be taken in. And these people seem to be getting scared. They seem to be looking frightened. And so I think at first Aegon thought that they were frightened of him, but really it's his dragon Sunfire actually is alive like I thought he was going to be. And he has gotten up and he is coming up from behind him. And these people are freaking out, but apparently not freaking out enough to turn tail and run. I would have fucking left as soon as I had any fucking inkling that there was a dragon coming. And I thought it was funny that Aegon is talking this whole time and isn't recognizing there's a dragon. I'm like, you can hear it. You can hear it. And I'm sure that if you were standing there, you probably would be able to feel it a little bit too. And he doesn't seem to have any inclination that the dragon is there, even though you can hear the dragon kind of, and you can hear its heavy footsteps coming. He doesn't seem to recognize it until he sees that Tylan has like turned around and is looking crazy. And then he turns around to see what Tylan and everybody else is staring at. It's Sunfire. And he sees it, Sunfire, says Sunfire, and then tells Sunfire Dracarys and burns all their asses, which is what I was talking. He gets his dragon, and the first thing he does basically is use the dragon to burn everybody there. And then the last scene we see, Ormond is at a little campfire with Ulf. They're talking. Apparently, this is not the first talk that they've had. It appears that Ormond has offered Ulf a position with property before, and maybe Ulf turned him down before, but now Ulf is like, oh no, yeah, I would love that property. What did you say it was going to be? Honey Hole? And Ormond is like, oh, no. Honey Hole would just be a trifling thing. Why not we give you Driftmark? Driftmark's going to become available quite soon. So I don't think Corlys is dead quite yet, but I think he plans to kill Corlys soon. So yeah, he's basically giving Ulf that position and then says that, none of these people are going to be laughing at you anymore. And he's like, no, they're going to be burning because I'm going to burn them all. So again, another guy getting a fucking dragon and deciding he's going to burn everybody. It's really the females that are going crazy when the males just do this and it's standard procedure. So yeah. How hysterical are they? And I wonder why they are getting hysterical when they're treated like this so much of the time. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I guess I will send you back to my live self. All right, so that was the breakdown of the episode. I'm going to go over some of my favorites and least favorites. I did it a little bit different this time. I think my VIP and piece of shit of the episode are not necessarily an individual person. So we'll just say that. Anyway, let's see. To me, the best scene was when Sunfire came up behind Aegon and burnt everybody up. And Aegon is just fucking cackling. I know, I don't like Aegon as a person. I never have. I think he's an awful person. I think he'll be an awful king, and I think he was already an awful king. But I have enjoyed the sequence with him and Larys and even Tyland. And I definitely got a big kick out of that scene. It was hilarious. My least favorite scene was the dragons fighting. It was it definitely was very good and it got my emotions going, but I was very, very sad seeing those dragons go at it like that. It was devastating. I am glad that it looks like none of them actually died, but I suspect that Sheepstealer is not long for this earth. I could be wrong. Some of the way that they're spinning the Sheepstealer and Nettles story makes me think that, which somebody has brought up, so it's not really I think this way, it's that I heard somebody else say this and I'm going along with it, that maybe they're basically trying to use this as a cutoff point to say that the stories that were in the book, the histories, are actually that original part where are that first part where Raina is taking sheep stealer and it's too much for her and she's hiding in the cave or whatever, and so that people think of her as Nettles, but they don't really know that that's not Nettles, that this isn't this wild girl or whatever, that this is actually a highborn, and that they're using this fight as a break off point possibly to to switch to Raina's storyline that was in the book. So yes, another book spoiler. Raina in the book eventually has oh gosh, what was the name of the dragon? Morning? I think it might be called Morning. Had that dragon hatch, and she ends up riding that dragon. It's like late into the series. So they're thinking that maybe they'll use this as a cutoff point to switch it from Nettles' fake story to Raina's real story. And with Bela saying that this gives you the opportunity to like start over, that does sound like it's going along with it. So anyway, let's see. What else did I miss? Okay, so my VIP of the episode, like I said, these are not going to be individual people. Silva and pretty much anybody else that's helping these people in this story to just wake up to reality. We got Silva did that for Maceras. I keep not realizing whether it's Maceras or Maceria. So I say both interchangeably because I don't really know. Anyway, whoever it is clued Rhaenyra in to help her wake up. I think it's just all the shit going on is making her wake up to Viserys is not somebody to fucking emulate in this situation. He was living in dreamland and you are not in dreamland, and you need to fucking wake the fuck up and be the ruler that you need to actually be. And then also Darren realizing that, like, what kind of fucking king am I gonna be with Ormond fucking doing everything for me? I don't know that he actually picked up on he's a puppet, but I think he's at least starting to wake up to it. And plus, the other thing was Manderley realizing, not exactly realizing, but at least picking up that it seems like he's been hired as a scapegoat. So lots of that those were my VIPs, is just getting these people to wake the fuck up to the reality that is on the ground. Piece of shit of the episode, the show writers, for putting in all this weird fucking incestuous shit and all this Oedipus complex crap that we have seen enough of and don't need to see more of. I get that fucking Targaryens have sex with each other, with their family members. That's all fine. Whatever. That's their life. But adding more and more shit like this to it, on top of it, and giving us three freaking sex scenes in one episode, two of them very quite disturbing, and one of them just, used for manipulation. Honestly, at least two of them are used for manipulation. But anyway, that and what else was it? Oh, I guess that's all I put. But yeah, some of the weird shit that the writers are doing, the stuff they did with the Nettles storyline, very fucking irritating. And really clean up this fucking timeline so we know what actual time point it is and how long it has been through various things happening. All right. I'm going to go ahead and play the preview so I don't forget it like I have before. So let's go. Let's see here. Go to the preview. I think it's this one. And I will mute my mic because I think it makes other things sound terrible when I keep it on.
News of Aegon's return has set the Queen on a dark path.
You have an absolute power within your grasp. You have only to wield it.
He and Roxton have some secret plot afoot. He has kept it even from me.
Are you still prepared to die for our Queen?
Can't fucking wait.
Our father would hate you for this.
Two paths diverge before you.
Whether you live or die today,
Victory
you will be remembered in the histories.
or a mountain of dead high towers.
There'll be no doubt who the gods have chosen to rule.
All right. Okay, back to live scene. Definitely Steph is getting insane. Not that it wasn't already, but it's what I expect. I remember when I read the book that there were certain parts like I was like, "Oh my god, I so want to see this on screen." And I don't know, like some of the stuff that I really wanted to see on screen, I don't think I have. And I don't think they're going to, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe next season we'll see some stuff. Because oh gosh, yeah, I'm not going to go into it too much, but there were certain characters that I really wanted to see that they could still implement. I just kind of doubt that they will. But anyway, let's see. Oh yeah, let me see. I have some thoughts about the themes and stuff that were going on in this episode. Deception, waking up to reality, like I said. Trust, like who can you trust? Who should you trust? Or should you just trust no one? Which may be the option, but I think you have to fight. I think you have to put yourself into a place where you do at least have some trust in certain people, in certain circumstances, but you gotta be on your guard. I think that's the biggest thing. Have a little bit of lack of trust in people, but be on your guard, really fucking pay attention, and get a damn whisperer that is actually working for you and not for both sides. Although I think that's hard because I think whisperers do tend to work both sides. All right, Jaguar, you said, oh, it was preview Corlys alive with his hand wrapped up. Okay, yeah, okay. I see that because I think I missed that preview, or maybe I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. I might have missed that preview. There's been a couple previews that I missed. I have a sneaky suspicion we won't get both battles of Tumbleton. They might condense it to only one. Yeah, they're doing a lot of that. They're doing a lot of condensing battles. They're doing a lot of making battles off screen, and I either see the remnants of it or we'll hear somebody talking about it in passing, which I don't like that, because those of us who haven't read the books aren't going to pick on it and aren't going to pick it up enough to know what the fuck they're talking about, or to realize that there was this whole battle that went on. I think they've been too subtle about things that they're trying to change around, but give people a little bit of a hint of what's going on. Like if you haven't read the books, then a lot of it I think you're not going to realize. It's just too much. I think the whole, hold on, I gotta switch to another screen because part of your comment is cut off. Okay, I think the whole pacing of the show was thrown off when they cut episodes 9 and 10. Definitely, I agree, from season 2, and made it episodes 1 and 2 of season 3. I agree. I think they did a good job, though, at making this its own season, despite, and making it a really good season. I did like this season. I just was very, I was having a lot of trouble with, like, what actual point are we in the story? How much time has actually gone on? But yeah, they fucking HBO doing that shit definitely screwed shit up, making them converge. Like, this is a lot of the story itself is short, honestly, but it is vague enough and doesn't go into things enough that it can be largely freaking expanded. And being able to expand on these stories in a way that works and makes sense, it needs extra time. Like, we need extra time to sit with these characters. Oh, what was that girl's name? I can't remember her name. The one with the black paint that goes across her eyes. She is supposed to be one of the very much liked characters in the story, and they've really given her very little. I don't know if she's actually had anything more than like one line, and they show her every now and then, but we don't really see what's going on. The only action that we've seen is when she killed Cole, and to me that's a problem. Like, we should have had more time with her, and we didn't get that. Okay, we saw the armies marching and we're expecting a big payoff, and then they gave us blue balls. Season 2 should have ended with Rhaenyra taking the throne, and that cut or merged characters. It's up in the air. It's up in the air. Yeah, I agree. Like, that whole thing ending the season the way they did. I did like. I know a lot of people were very upset with the way they did the ending of season 2, but I actually didn't mind it. I knew at that point that they had cut the season by two episodes. I knew that it was removing a lot of stuff that we should have had, and that we were not getting the ending that we were supposed to get. But I actually liked the way they did that ending because of that. Whereas a lot of people, when I watched them watching, I watched a lot of the reactions with them watching, and all these things were happening, and people are excited, they're happy, like everybody's all happy, and then all of a sudden when they realize that this scenario that they put out at the very end is the end of the episode, and then they all got mad and were like, oh, this ruined the whole thing, it was so terrible. And I'm like, but y'all were like happy and excited with every little thing that happened until that last scenario, and then you were like, oh, it ruined the whole show. And I don't see things that way. I don't see how one bad scene at the very end of the episode kills the entire episode, or the entire, like, there were some people that were like, no, it ruined the entire season. They said the same thing with the really dark imaging on Game of Thrones when some of those big battles happened, and I didn't realize when I was watching it that it was like that, because my screen was set so that it was a lot brighter, because I do that for video games, because I have a hard time seeing video games the way that they want them to be lit up. So I intentionally make my screen so that it brightens everything. So I wasn't seeing that there was a problem, and everybody else was. So I was like, what are you getting all freaking mad about? I could see just fine. But no, it was not fine. Okay, let's see. What do we got? We saw the arm. No, I read that already. Her name is Alysanne Blackwood. Black Alley. Yeah, Black Alley was what I was trying to think of. And another thing is that not hearing some of the names very often, and I have a hard time remembering names. So if I'm not hearing the names over and over again, it doesn't like get into my long-term memory. I have short-term memory problems, and so it just is like in the wind. But I probably should know Black Alley by now, because I have heard it from other commenters and stuff so many times, but didn't, like, it's just still not quite in there. And then Roddy Ruin, I think. I keep mixing up Roddy Ruin with the stupid wrestler from back in the day. Rude Rowdy Piper or something like that. I can't remember his name, but oh my gosh. Oh, I still have to do rest in peace section. Don't want to forget that. And did I get everything from the themes? Who can you trust? Oh, no, I didn't. Another theme was playing the game. Like, all these people are doing their parts and playing the game. Not necessarily good, but they are trying to play the game. And some of them are doing, like, I think Ormond is actually doing a good job of playing the game the way Game of Thrones is played, even though I hate him. And then the other theme I had was bad romance. Like, so much fucking bad romance in this episode. And my husband said something when we were watching the episode towards the end about them having all these sex scenes in like every episode. And I'm like, but really it's not every episode. There's plenty of episodes where there's like no real sex scenes. But then we get this episode and there's like 3 freaking sex scenes and 2 of them are, yeah. All right. Now, rest in peace. Sir Adrian Redfort was the knight that brought Alicent over there that was supposed to take out Aemon. And Aemon took him out before he could do that, so... I was wondering though when we got to that scene, the way he was acting about Alicent being treated trifling and all that stuff, I was wondering, like, is he gonna turn around and actually be a Green supporter? And you know, because these people, when another ruler comes in place, they just do what they can to survive, and surviving sometimes means bending the knee to the other person and acting like you don't agree with the other side. So we don't know. Like, maybe he is a Green supporter and we don't know. But no, it doesn't matter. Aemon was like, nope, shit's too fucking crazy and I'm gonna just kill you now. And I didn't think that anyone was gonna be able to take Aemon out anyway. It doesn't go along with the storyline, but also, to me, even with Aemon being injured like he is, he's too good at what he does with fighting and observing and all of that to let somebody just take him out like that, especially one night. Not likely. I just went blank. But anyway... So he died, and then we had this whole slew of people at the end when Sunfire freaking burned all those Maidenpool troops. And I don't know any of their names, and when I looked it up online, they're like, no, these are all just nameless people. We're just going to call them nameless people. So, as far as I know, that's everybody who we know to have died at this point in this episode. And I think that's all I've got for you. I will go to my ending screen to go over my schedule, but it's pretty much unchanged from the last time I saw you. I just put these breakdowns to happen on Wednesday. I know there's only one more breakdown because the season finale is coming, but that should be on Wednesday. I've just found that I don't get around to getting everything done soon enough to do one on Tuesday, so it'll be Wednesday. They were from House Mouton, and his banners from Maidenpool. They are loyal to House Tully. Yeah, right. What was I? The thing I was concerned about the loyalty was from Alicent's knight. And I kept just calling him Alicent's protector because I didn't know his name. I had to look that up. So, but yeah, what was it? Lord Mouton of Maidenpool is what they said. But anyway, we got Fridays. I still do the Tokyo Ghoul reactions, and I still have a few more episodes left of that. Once Tokyo Ghoul is done, I will be switching to either Demon Hunters or Demon Slayer. I keep forgetting the name, and I keep saying that same thing every time because I don't remember which name it is. But Demon Hunters or Demon Slayers. When House of the Dragon is over, I'm mostly going to be, I think I'm going to switch to focusing on this new Heartstopper movie. I don't usually do movie reactions. I usually do TV show reactions, but this was a TV show, and the last season they decided to do as a movie, so I'm just doing the movie. I will probably do this as a breakdown and discussion at first, like I'm doing with this. Then I will do a reaction. It's a movie, so it's going to be longer. That is probably going to be very hard for me because I have a terrible time editing these things when they're long, and it's like twice as long as some of the ones I have a problem with, so that's going to be fun. Fridays I do Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That is almost done, so that will be out of the way. I was doing readings of the Testaments, but I finished that book, so what I am going to probably do is switch the Night of the Seven Kingdom reactions over to readings, but it's going to be readings of the book called Princesses Behaving Badly. So that is all I got for you this week. I will see you next week. Bye. Alright, now I gotta get this turned off. Live. And stream. And